They won the Champions League on a Wednesday. By Friday, everything was falling apart. Olympique de Marseille, the greatest club in French football history, 5 consecutive league titles. The best players in France all in one squad. And in 1993, they did something no French club had ever done before. They won the European Cup. But the trophy they lifted that night in Munich was already tainted. This is the story of how Marseille's greatest triumph became their greatest shame. To understand what happened in 1993, you need to understand Bernard Tapie. Tapie was a French businessman, a self-made millionaire who made his fortune by buying failing companies and turning them around. He owned Adidas. He owned a cycling team that won the Tour de France twice. And in 1986, he bought Olympique de Marseille. Within 3 years, Marseille were champions of France. Tapie threw money into the club. He signed the biggest names he could find: Jean-Pierre Papin, Eric Cantona, Rudy Voller, Didier Deschamps, Marcel Desailly, Abedi Pelé. From 1989 to 1993, Marseille won 5 consecutive league titles. They were the dominant force in French football. No one came close. But Tapie wanted more. He wanted the one trophy that had always eluded him, the European Cup. And in 1993, he was going to get it, whatever it took. May 1993, Marseille had made it to the Champions League final, their first ever, against AC Milan, one of the greatest offensive teams in history. The final was scheduled for May 26th in Munich. But 6 days before that final, Marseille had a league match against Valenciennes, a small club fighting relegation. On paper, it should have been simple, but Tapie didn't want to take any chances. He didn't want his players tired. He didn't want anyone picking up injuries. Not 6 days before the biggest match in the club's history. So he came up with a plan. Tapie told his midfielder Jean-Jacques Idley to contact 3 Valenciennes players, former teammates from Nantes: Jacques Glassman, Christophe Robert, and Jorge Burruchaga. The offer was simple: take it easy. Don't try too hard. Let Marseille win comfortably, and there would be money waiting for you. 250,000 French francs, roughly 55,000 euros. Robert and Burruchaga said yes, but Glassman said no, and that decision would destroy everything. May 20th, Valenciennes versus Marseille. Marseille won 1-0. A comfortable, unremarkable result. Nobody watching suspected anything. 6 days later, May 26th, Munich. Marseille versus AC Milan. Milan had won 10 consecutive Champions League matches. They were favorites. They had one of the greatest offenses ever assembled. But Marseille were fresh, focused, ready. In the 43rd minute, Abedi Pelé delivered a corner kick. Basile Boli rose above the Milan defense and headed it in, 1-0. Marseille held on for 90 minutes. The whistle blew. Marseille were champions of Europe, the first French club ever to win the European Cup. Bernard Tapie was carried off the pitch by his players. He was beaming. This was his moment, his legacy, or so he thought. 2 weeks after the final, everything fell apart. Christophe Robert, one of the Valenciennes players who had accepted the bribe, walked into a police station and confessed. He told investigators everything: the money, the arrangement, the phone calls. Then detectives raided the garden of Robert's aunt and found 250,000 francs buried in the ground. Tapie tried to explain it away. He said it was a loan, money to help Robert start a restaurant. Nobody believed him. On June 30th, French police raided Marseille's headquarters. 12 players were questioned during a pre-season training camp. Idley admitted paying the bribe. He and Marseille's general manager Jean-Pierre Burns were arrested and jailed for active corruption. Jacques Glassman, the man who refused the bribe, went public with everything he knew. He would later receive the 1995 FIFA Fair Play Award for his honesty. The scandal was out, and it was everywhere. The punishment came fast. Marseille were stripped of the 1992-93 league title. The trophy was offered to runners-up Paris Saint-Germain. PSG refused it, so the title was left vacant. No winner. UEFA banned Marseille from defending their Champions League title the following season. But here's the part that still divides opinion to this day. UEFA did not strip Marseille of the 1993 Champions League trophy itself. The reasoning? The match fixing involved a domestic league game, not a European competition, so the Champions League title stayed. But domestically, the punishment continued. Despite finishing second in the league the following season, Marseille were forcibly relegated to the second division. Bernard Tapie was sentenced to 2 years in prison. He served 6 months. Tapie and Burns were banned for life by the French Football Federation, and within a year, the club filed for bankruptcy, debts approaching 300 million francs. Marseille, 5-time consecutive league champions and European Cup winners, were playing second division football and couldn't pay their bills. Marseille eventually recovered. A new owner took over in 1996. They returned to the top flight. They rebuilt. But the 1993 Champions League trophy, it stays with them. Officially, forever. UEFA never took it back. And that is the part of the story that never goes away. Marseille won Europe's biggest trophy. That is a fact. But how they got there, what happened the week before Munich, that is a fact too. The trophy is real. The scandal is real. And somewhere between the two, French football lost something it has never fully recovered.